Two massive art installations are formally welcomed to downtown Muskegon as part of a public art initiative. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm News 8 digital anchor Luke Laster here from the Wood TV Live Desk. Joining me today is project director Judith Hayner for more on this project. Judy, good morning.
Good morning.
So two very different pieces. One is a mural, the other a sculpture. Before we dive in a little bit, tell me a little bit about your role and the Muskegon Art Public Initiative there.
The Muskegon City Public Art Initiative was started in 2018 as a project inspired by a philanthropist who wanted to support additional public art in Muskegon. His goal was to see us add 10 works to the collection of the city, which is already fairly significant. Muskegon has about 4 dozen pieces of public art throughout the city. So this was an adding it onto it. So that's what inspired the Muskegon City Public Art Initiative. The projects we're talking about today are number 5 and number 6.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Well, let's start with those then. Let's start with the mural. That one's titled, What Defines Muskegon? Tell me about that one.
That one is done by Dr. Hubert Massey, who is a Detroit area artist, award-winning, very highly recognized and appreciated for his art. He's a muralist, but he also works with ceramics and oil and multimedia. His process, when we started talking to him about doing this mural, is to always have community forums to inform the topics of the mural. And so we did that in the 2020 bunch of Zoom community forums, because that's the world we were in. But one of the things that's most interesting about that mural is I think that for people in Muskegon, they recognize the various elements. But what amazes me is that Dr. Massey had never been to Muskegon. Everything he put into that mural, he got from those community forums we had 5 or 6 of them. They were, old, young, black, white, professional, blue collar, all kinds of a good cross section of people in Muskegon. So what he has put in that mural is what he heard about what people are proud of in Muskegon and what they think defines us as a community.
Something about this mural too is it's huge. Tell me a little bit about where it's located and the size as well.
It's located on the exterior wall of the Trinity Health Arena, which is in the center of downtown Muskegon. And the mural itself is 65 feet by 12 feet. So yeah, it was a pretty big undertaking.
Before we hop over to the next one, anything else that you want to add on that one? Again, that one's called What Defines Muskegon. You shared a little bit on the inspiration. Is there any more you'd like to share on that specific mural?
Well, number one, if people go see it, there's good signage that includes a legend so that for people that may not be familiar with Muskegon, you can figure out what all the different elements are in it. You've seen a picture of it. It really does tell the story. It's early on when we put it up, somebody said, so you read it from left to right. It's like, okay, yes, that's what you do. Kind of starting with the lumbering and going to our present day. So I just think it's a beautiful reflection of the history of our community and the diversity of our community.
Now to 180, the second piece there is a sculpture, very different than our first piece. That one's called One Drop. Tell me about that one.
That one has been in the works for over 2 years. I first started meeting with the Women's Division Chamber of Commerce in 2019 to talk about their interest in doing something very special for the community to commemorate their 70th anniversary. This women's organization is 70 years old, and I have to say, in today's world, that is really unusual. A lot of the women's organizations, once women start getting into the workforce, like at the levels that we have, really have not maintained their membership. It's been challenging, but the women's division is going strong. They have over 200 members, but most importantly, they started meeting in 1951 wearing hats and white gloves. So the purpose of this sculpture was to commemorate that anniversary and the kinds of service that they've given to Muskegon. We actually went out, I developed an RFP and then we mailed it out to 33 sculpture artists that I had been able to identify as artists that could do something monumental. And then we also sent it out to all of the colleges and universities in Michigan and their art departments. We got 12 entries that were submitted as a result of that RFP. The interesting thing about this, because we've done this with other projects, is that we typically will then get it down maybe to the top 3 in terms of the people that are reviewing it. I work with the Downtown Arts Committee, and they look at all of our projects, and that's who I report to. On this particular one, this concept was just hands down like, okay, that's the one. We didn't have to go any further than that because it so perfectly represents, I think, what the women's division was interested in, which is individuals make a huge difference. A drop of water sends ripples and impacts its environment. So that's the symbolism of it.
Again, another very large piece. You sent me a photo of that sculpture yesterday. I did not realize, the photos never do it justice until you get someone standing right next to it, taking a photo of how huge it actually is. Tell me, where is this one located?
Where's the photo taken?
No, where is the sculpture located?
I'm sorry. The sculpture is located on the Shoreline Drive side of our new convention center. We have a convention center downtown that straddles both Shoreline Drive and Western Avenue, the 2 main streets. And this is on the Shoreline Drive side between the building and the highway. So it's extremely visible. It's 27 feet. So yes, it is pretty big. And it's been quite a labor of love, I think, both for the artists and certainly for us. But it has been it's a very, very simple form that's extremely complex in its makeup, how it was put together and what had to happen for that.
Judy, a few more questions for you, but one more just on One Drop here. Anything else there on the inspiration of it or how it came together that you'd like to add? I'm so happy that we all were able to zero in on this particular one. I think it's exactly the right piece for that location, and it's a beautiful tribute to that organization. We dedicate it tonight at 5:30. The public is welcome to attend at the plaza where it now sits. We will have a fairly short dedication, but celebration of getting to this point with it. On a larger scale now, why is having these pieces and the other ones that have been included in the series important to downtown Muskegon and just the city as a whole?
I think that public art has a particularly unique role in contributing to image and pride and a sense of place for people, even if it's not real conscious. Okay. At some point, if you live here, you might just start to know that, yeah, those sculptures are there, and you might not notice them directly quite as much, but yet they're still there and they're still part of our visual language as a community. And I think that art on that scale truly does make a difference. I think it does build that pride and a commonality across the various diverse parts of our community because it's out there for everybody to enjoy. Our public art collection dates back from the late 1890s. And like I said, there's about 48 pieces that are pretty significant throughout the town, but it goes from traditional and bronze to murals to modern sculptures. It's a great collection, and that people start to see that when they look at Muskegon, you think of the water, you think of the beaches, but you're also going to start thinking about the art.
Judy, I apologize if you hear any background noise there, but you mentioned, I believe earlier in our conversation, this is the 6th piece included in the series.
Yes.
What's next?
What's next? I'm not ready to release that yet, but I am working next on the next piece. It's going to be a sculpture for Muskegon Heights, and it'll be a centerpiece in the renovation of Rowan Park, and we're just getting ready to start to roll that out. It's a project that is starting now and will result in a sculpture that'll be installed next September of 2023.
So there will be more.
There will be more. The goal was always 10, so we've got 6 done, and there's 4 more. So, yeah, this project has been directly the result of a donor, of a philanthropist that said, "Hey, how could we do this? How could we get more art here?" And he committed $25,000 for each of the 10 projects as the starting money. The $150 he has contributed so far has been leveraged into almost $1 million. That's that we've raised for these projects so far. So it's been a great experience so far.
Judy, is there anything else that you'd like to add or put out there?
Hey, come to Muskegon. Come to Muskegon and see it for yourself. There's one thing about talking about art. There's another thing about looking at pictures. And unless you're in a museum, that's not very effective. So come to Muskegon and walk around. The chamber has a map that shows where all the art is located in the greater downtown area. And so there's quite a little walk one could have and enjoy the various kinds of art that we have.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you tuned in maybe halfway through this conversation or are just now clicking in, there's a link attached if you're viewing on Facebook. Takes you over to woodtv.com. You're able to view our full conversation right there. Judy, thank you.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. Thank you for
Folks, I'm sorry, one more time?
I said thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Bet. Absolutely. Folks, this has been a look at the Wood TV Live Desk. I'm News 8 digital anchor Luke Laster. Have a great morning, a great afternoon, and we'll see you around.